Joyful blessings. This is Kaylin Castell, co-founder of the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School, creator of the Celestial Timings, and co-author of the Shamanic Astrology Handbook, with a look at the Grand Cross, Grand Shift, Grand Revolution, amazing time of 2014. And truly, we are being activated every single year in powerful ways, and 2014 is no different than the times that we've had previously. But let's just take a look at this Grand Cross and see what it has to offer for us. So first of all, just to get a sense of what a Grand Cross is, let's look at the solstices and equinox points. These are called the cardinal points. In shamanic astrology, we look at them as having a specific purpose. They kind of relate to what it takes to hold a culture together, what it takes to hold a family together, what it takes to hold a relationship together, what it takes to have energy for a cause or a purpose. So if we look at the December solstice, you can see that currently, this is the logo for the Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. The outer ring is the signs or the seasons, 0 Capricorn right here, and the sun is rising between the Archer and the Scorpion, right at galactic center. In the opposite point, we have the twins and the bull, the summer solstice, 0 Cancer. The sun is rising right between them at the edge of the galaxy. So the galactic edge and the galactic center, right where the Milky Way the plane of the Milky Way galaxy crosses the plane of our solar system, creating a galactic cross, one near galactic center and the other near the galactic edge. And then the equinoxes are aligned at we could say the March equinox is at the south galactic pole, and then the September equinox is at the north galactic pole. So about every 26,000 years, these points will align along the galactic plane and the galactic poles. So we have the cross, the cardinal cross of the equinoxes and solstices aligned along the galactic cross, the galactic crosses of how our galaxy is set up. Very amazing time. So we could say from 1962 to 2034, minimum window that we have the solstice and equinox suns rising in these points. And that can only happen in this configuration every approximately 26,000 years. Now, if we look at this on a chart, so we could say here's the 0 Capricorn point, here's the 0 Aries point, here's the 0 Cancer point, the 0 Libra point, representing these solstice and equinox points. And for the next 30 days after the equinox, the sun is in Aries. And for the next 30 days after the summer solstice, the sun is in Cancer, and so on. So what's happening in the sky is that we have planets that are located in the place where the sun would be, say 13 days after the equinox points or the solstice points. So on April 23rd, 2014 will be the exact Grand Cross, the closest, when the planets come closest together in their respective cycles. But it's happening now. It's happening for the first half of 2014. Until Jupiter moves out and Mars moves out, then we'll just be back to the Uranus-Pluto square, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So basically, we have Uranus at 13 Aries and 40 minutes. There's 60 minutes in a degree. We have Jupiter at 13 Cancer and 54 minutes. We have Mars at 13 Libra, 35 minutes. We have Pluto at 13 Capricorn and 34 minutes. Now this 13 degree mark is going to become very important when we look a little bit further into this. So I'll share about that in a moment. But just so that you know, the other thing to note is that the north node is at 28 Libra and the south node is at 28 Aries. And the reason this is significant is it has to do with the eclipse points that we're going to talk about in a moment. But first, we're just going to talk a little bit about the Uranus-Pluto square. From 2008 to 2018, there are 7 exact Uranus-Pluto squares. Here is the planet Uranus and how it's relating to the Earth, in Uranus is in Aries, and here is Pluto in Capricorn, and how they're creating this square. And this is something that a man named Richard Tarnas did a lot of research on a book called Cosmos and Psyche. And he researched back through times when Uranus and Pluto were either conjunct meaning they were together, they were square or at a 90-degree angle, or they were opposite or 180-degree angle from each other. And he found that at these times there were major events that happened. So for example, the French and American Revolution, the Great Depression when the stock market crashed and created a Great Depression, and the late 60s when people were taking to the streets. So here we have a newspaper saying that billions were lost as the stock market crashed in the late 20s, early 1930s. Here in the 1960s, the late 1960s, people marching on Washington and protesting. It's a time of revolution, people taking to the streets. And in the French Revolution, they were taking the royal family and guillotining them. So what's happening now, in 2008, we began an economic crash. And then 2011, there was Occupy Wall Street, people taking to the streets, and also Egypt, Libya, Syria, Spain, and many other planets. I think this is Spain, people taking to the streets in greater numbers than ever before, starting to protest because whatever the old system has been now needs to collapse and needs to be created anew. And that's really the intention of the Uranus-Pluto square. And so just so you get an idea, the 7 exact squares, let me just back up a little bit. One of the things that I think is really great about this sign is that it says that the Uranus-Pluto square, next 7 exits, because there are 7 exact Uranus-Pluto squares, change required ahead, no U-turns. Basically, we cannot get out of the change that is coming. It has already been happening, and it will continue to happen. So there were 2 Uranus-Pluto squares in 2012, 2 in 2013. The next one will be April 21st, 2014, and then December 14th, 2014, and March 16th, 2015 will be the last exact one, but we'll still be in the energy of it for several more years. So, but let's look at what's happening in April of 2014. So remember I talked about the eclipses, and because the nodes have moved into Libra Aries, most of the eclipses will be in those signs, but the lunar eclipse on April 15th is at 25 Libra. It opens an eclipse window that will close on April 28th. And eclipse windows are often a time out of time, revolutionary, transformational change time that can take place. It often maybe not so much on a global place, but depending on where the eclipse happens, if it's visible where you can see it, then oftentimes you see more events changing in that area. The total lunar eclipse on April 15th will be visible in the United States, at least partially, if not the whole entire thing. And so will the one on October 8th, actually. So pretty powerful to be in the path of the eclipse. Plus the Uranus-Pluto square will be exact on April 21st at 13 degrees of Aries and Capricorn, and then the Grand Cross at 13 degrees of all the cardinal signs on April 23rd in the center of the eclipse window. I like to call it the eclipse cauldron. So a really powerful timing for this to be happening. So we're in a time out of time already, and then we have this Grand Cross that's taking place. And as I showed you before, it's a very exact Grand Cross. Now, this is the United States chart on this center ring here. And for July 4th, 1776, when we signed the Declaration of Independence, and this is the chart that is used for the birth of the United States. And one of the things you'll notice is that the sun here is at 13 Cancer, with Jupiter here at 13 Cancer, Aries, Uranus in Aries squaring that sun, and Mars in Libra at 13 Libra squaring that sun, and Pluto at 13 Capricorn opposite that sun. So what is this going to mean for those of us who live in the United States? What kinds of revolutionary changes are going to be taking place? So if we think about what is the Grand Cross, it is a dynamic tension. It is it's like these energies of the cardinal signs actually really do kind of have a similar purpose in that Capricorn is all about how do we responsibly do community and government and social structures and taking care of the earth. Of course, we haven't been as responsible as we could be, so that's part of what's needing to collapse at this particular time. We could say Jupiter in Cancer is expanding. How do we do healthy family and take care of each other and realize that we're all in this together? Then we have Mars in Libra. That's all about how are we doing conscious equal partnership, and looking at ways of healthy relating, not only to each other but to the earth. And so if we look at the opportunity here, and then of course Uranus and Aries, Uranus being a very revolutionary energy and Aries being about the mission, the cause, the purpose. So if the mission is to create a revolution, to create the change so that we can have a healthier structure, it'll be interesting to see what happens as we move towards this Grand Cross. Now, there's going to be very many activations of this from the first few months, well, the last few months of 2013 and the first few months of 2014 as we approach the exact Grand Cross. So just something to think about. And as we're thinking about that, if you would like to get more information, I'm going to be sharing more and more about this. You can sign up for free celestial timings and find out more about 2014 by going to KaylinCastell.com and seeing what information I have on my website there for you, as well as additional writing and information that could be supportive to you as we navigate this time. Because the thing to know is that the more we can be relaxed, the more we can be in the flow and allow things to change and to fall away, to release and let go of what needs to go, the better it will be, the easier it will be. The more attached we are, the more we're hanging on to things, the more challenging and the more difficult. So go with the flow be a great sort of mantra to adopt at this time. So, and we will see what happens on the other side of the Grand Cross of 2014.